Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg, and today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 movies that deserve a sequel or remake. Okay, so I guess that could also involve a reboot, but the title's long enough. Um, for this list, there are a lot of movies that are completely just standalone, perfect as they are. They don't need any remakes, they don't need reboots, no sequels, just they are good to go. They stand the test of time. There are also plenty of movies that do get remakes or sequels that don't really need them, and yet there they are for generally financial purposes. But then there are movies that I think tend to be overlooked or forgotten about for whatever reason, and likely will never get a sequel or remake, or possibly way, way down the line they probably will, given the span of human time. It's likely they'll retread probably every single one of these lists. Every single one of these movies that's on this list. But for right now, for this list, I went to movies that I didn't think were likely to get a sequel or remake in the near future, and nothing in here is definite about any sequel or remake. So I wanted to just kind of put a spotlight on some mostly lesser known stuff in general, I guess. Not lesser known, but less paid attention to. Alright, this list is in no particular order, for the most part. And so we will start with number 10, Starship Troopers. So Starship Troopers was a movie from the 90s based on a novel. Apparently, I've never read the novel, but apparently it's a bit different than the novel, like most movies tend to be. And the original, original Starship Troopers, great film. I think it still does hold up a bit. The music in there is great. The acting is okay at times. And the bug effects, I think, probably hold up better than anything else. But imagine what they could do with, in today's world of CGI, you could make those bugs pretty freaking terrifying. And seeing that, the bunker defense scene in with modern CG and just in all its visceral glory would be really incredible. I think it is likely that they remake Starship Troopers at some point, and I think we should probably be okay with that. The original is good, and I do recommend people watch it, but there are aspects of it that I think will definitely fade with time. I do hope that if they remake it, when they remake it, they kind of keep its sense of humor. I think that is pretty core to differentiating Starship Troopers from just any random sci-fi action movie. Number 9, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. So this is a movie from, I want to say, early 2000s, starring Sean Connery, and based on a comic series. And this was I believe the last film Sean Connery ever made. Yes, I think this is the movie that caused him to stop acting. So that in itself is pretty egregious. Now, contrary to many people, I actually like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen movie. I've seen it a good number of times. I'll watch it here and there. I think it's okay. But remember, I was like 11 when I first saw it, or 12, something like that. So, it was like, oh, there's a big monster dude, and they've got all this cool technology, and there's the invisible guy, and he's cracking jokes, and I was a kid, all right? I thought it was okay. But I can definitely see how it has, if that movie came out now, it'd be like, wow, what a Mang's movie. But I do think this deserves a remake because of the strong source potential League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is like Alan Quartermain, Captain Nemo, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Mina Harker, Dorian Gray. It's just a very eccentric, odd cast of characters with varying wide array of abilities. And I think the only reason that this really hasn't been remade yet is because of the strong stigma that the original carried. It's generally pretty widely regarded as a shit movie. So saying, hey, we want to do League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, it's just, there's probably a bad taste in a lot of mouths. So I can see that, but I think, again, eventually down the line, they'll just be like, well, we got nothing. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, let's try it. They won't have Sean Connery, who was the best part of the original movie. But perhaps they can get a better cast of characters, better cast all around. So I think that franchise, I guess, deserves a decent movie. Number 8, Cabin in the Woods. Okay, so I don't think this movie deserves a remake. I think it deserves a sequel. And, if you've seen the movie, you're probably laughing. Because, at the end of the movie, basically the whole world... It's implied the whole world gets destroyed. So, I think many, many, many people would be happy seeing a prequel to Cabin in the Woods, myself included. Cabin in the Woods is basically the closest thing we've ever gotten to an SCP movie, and so for myself, like, I don't think I knew that going in, and so when it started to dawn on me in the middle of that movie, it was just like, it was just mind blowing. I love that. It's a great, great movie. So yeah, Drew Goddard, I think, even joked about it when asked if there was going to be a sequel, if people have seen the end of this movie. I mean, yeah, I can see how they wouldn't go that route. But they absolutely could do a prequel very easily. But, I think you could do a sequel. If you look at it from like an SCP Foundation point of view, the SCP Foundation has contingencies out the ass. There would never just be, oh, that's the end of the world, it's done. Like, it's not like the movie just at the end of the movie, the world just instantly, like, that didn't happen. It was just a giant monster thing. Like, if it's SCP Foundation, they got things for days. Now, Cabin in the Woods is basically the SCP Foundation if they were all retarded. But still, it could work. But I would absolutely like to see a prequel to Cabin in the Woods. Number 7, Demolition Man. Now this one, I could go both ways. Yeah, I think there could be a remake. Probably will be a remake someday. Demolition Man is a movie about Sylvester Stallone plays this cop, and his arch nemesis is this just bad dude played by Wesley Snipes, and they end up both getting basically cryo-frozen. They go into cryostasis incidentally, and they wake up many years in the future, and then basically everything has changed, and now the society that they wake up in is basically crime-free. Like, everybody is just very nice to each other. It's very peaceful. It's like a utopia. They wake up in a utopia, and they're from, like, modern-day Detroit. So, ish. So it's very humorous because, it's Wesley Snipes at pretty much his best, just being this completely off-the-walls criminal. It's hilarious. And Sylvester Stallone is just, he's like, and he's just cracking down the law, and he just can't accept all these pansy-ass cops of this utopia. So it's a hilarious movie. And so, it's probably going to get remade because it's just a good, funny concept for a film. It's not merely meant, it's sort of a comedy, but it's also just an action movie. Wow. So I can see it getting remade down the line because of the concept. And then recasting Stallone, Wesley Snipes, and blah, 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 and just, doing it again. Which would be okay, because certain aspects of Demolition Man are a little dated. The action is not as... I mean, if you like 80s action, it's 80s, 90s action is what it is, but as far as modern audiences go, we expect a lot crazier action, and we just crazy, Demolition Man isn't really that crazy of action. But, on the other hand, I think a modern-day sequel, starring Stallone and Wesley Snipes, would also be hilarious, even though I believe... I haven't seen the movie in a little while, but I believe at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, I believe Wesley Snipes dies. Let me check. Yeah, he basically gets like a Terminator 2 turn pulled on him, where he gets completely frozen, and then he gets shattered into like a million pieces. So, but just that fact, and like he somehow still like gets pieced together, and like he comes back, it would be funny. Either way, I mean, the remake would make more sense, is going to happen, but I'm sad because the remake will most likely not have Wesley Snipes in it, so. But either way, it's a good plot. It's a good concept for a film, so Demolition Man. Number 6. Tron Legacy. So Tron Legacy movie came out a little while ago. And this in itself was a sequel, right? Tron Legacy was a sequel to a film. It was a sequel to the original Tron. Although it didn't matter at all if you saw the original Tron. I've never seen it, and I probably never will see the original Tron. But I really like Tron Legacy. I think it's a great movie. So if you don't know anything about Tron, basically it's just... it's like a digital world, and this guy, Kevin Flynn, basically, he makes this game world in computers. It's a very technological movie, and he somehow transports himself into this world, this digital world, and shit goes wrong. And Tron Legacy is basically about his son, who does the same thing. And so, in Tron Legacy, Jeff Bridges plays a very... he basically plays a Jedi. If you ever want to see Jeff Bridges playing a dude version of a Jedi, Tron Legacy is what you need to watch. But it's got an incredible soundtrack. It's all done by Daft Punk and all that. Visually, just a stunning movie. Just the colors and the use of CGI, and it's really just an incredibly sounding movie. It's got a solid plot. It's entertaining. It doesn't really... It's well-paced. It's a solid film. And it did quite a bit of money. It made $400 million. And yet, the sequel to Tron Legacy is just kind of nowhere. Right now, it's basically dead in the water. It's in development hell. It's been talked about since the movie came out. Like, they were planning it, like, before the movie came out. Like, plenty of big stuff. Like, hey, let's do another. This is going to be great. We still don't have it. And I think it absolutely deserves a sequel. They left it off where... there's a lot of possibilities with the Tron world where just, shit can rise up and be like, oh, shit's going on. Tron Legacy was kind of like the quintessential plot, where just this evil, character within the Tron digital world wants to break out of the digital world and, control the real world. And it's like, okay, well, that's, as serious as it's going to get in a Tron movie. But you could have him trying to, like, fuck it. If I can't take over the world, I'll just destroy the world. And he starts, like, hacking and getting into other systems and detonating nukes and some shit. And who knows? But bottom line is, it's an incredible movie in many aspects. And it's a damn shame that there's no sequel on the way. That is a movie that shouldn't be in development hell. But you can't control things like that. In complete opposite direction, number 5 is Deep Rising. Now, I'm sure many of you have probably never heard of this film. It's not very highly rated. It's almost never talked about. It's directed by Stephen Sommers. It stars Treat Williams and Famke Janssen. And it's basically a B horror movie in every sense of the word, the phrase. And I don't know why I saw this movie. I'm not sure how old I was. I'm sure I was 13 or something like that when I saw this movie. My dad probably showed it to me. Because years ago he used to watch all sorts of shitty horror movies. It's probably how I got into all of it. But basically, Deep Rising is about Treat Williams just plays this he basically plays a boat captain, and he's got a couple of assistants. One of them is played by Kevin J. O'Connor, really hilarious. And they basically just accept any job, no questions asked. They're basically mercenaries that just drive a boat around. I don't know what other work they do, but okay. And they get hired for this job by a group of actual mercenaries, no good people. And they drive the boat out into the middle of the sea, and they slowly realize that these guys are planning to rob a cruise ship. But when they get to the cruise ship, they don't really find much of anything. It's almost like a ghost ship. But it's much better than the movie Ghost Ship, okay? Let me assure you of that. And so basically, it's a monster movie. There's sea monsters. I won't tell you anymore. Even though this movie is like 18 years old, you'll probably never watch it. I don't want to spoil it for you. It's just one of those movies that if you like horror movies that have a sense of humor, they don't really take anything that seriously, and it's just kind of a fun movie to watch. Maybe check out Deep Rising. And I actually don't think that this movie deserves a remake, because I don't think it'll ever get a remake. It'll also never get a sequel, but the sequel one is, I think, fans of Deep Rising would prefer to see a sequel, because at the end of Deep Rising, they basically, the main characters get away from the cruise ship, they get away from everything, they basically land. They find like this deserted island at the end of the movie, and they think they're away from it all, and they're all like, well, there are worse places to end up, on this beautiful remote island. And then they hear like this gigantic roar. It sounds like King Kong or something like that. And the camera pans out, and you just see like trees just getting stomped on as something like roars and heads toward them on the beach. And that's how the movie ends. And so plenty of people have remarked that Lost, the TV show Lost, is a sequel to Deep Rising. It's the same island because, in Lost there was the smoke monster and blah, blah, blah. There's no way that's ever true at all. Maybe when they came up with Lost, they watched Deep Rising. Maybe. But it's just something, some people like to joke about. But it seems, it's a weird entry. There won't be many top 10 movies that deserve a remake or sequel lists that feature Deep Rising. Mine might be the only one. But it's a movie that's near and dear to my heart, and it's just like, I like these characters. I like these few main characters that made it out. And so to just get thrown into this other situation on this island with some horrible King Kong, Godzilla nonsense, just something personally I would really like to see. But if you've never seen Deep Rising, you have no interest in ever watching it, then I'm sorry, I just wasted a few minutes of your time. Apparently, Roger Ebert put it on his most hated films list. It's ridiculous. It's a great movie. It's a great movie. Anyways. Number 4. Highlander. yeah, this. I mean, it may bother some people to hear that Highlander deserves a remake because some people just, you know, they uh, absolutely love Highlander. There's no way you could ever top it. Now, this one I am cheating with because this is getting a remake. I mean, it's not completely concrete, but it's much further along than anything else on this list for getting an actual remake. But Highlander, when I first thought up this list, Highlander was the first movie I thought of. Because I watched Highlander recently, a couple of years ago, for the first time. I had never seen it before. I'd never seen anything of Highlander. But it's a movie that gets talked about on occasion. I'm like, okay, I'll check out Highlander. I like the concept of Highlander. I do. You know, I like the concept of modern day. It's modern day, and there's these people that have been sword fighting for like hundreds of years. They're just immortal. That's all they just do sword fights. And it's very kind of like secretive. There's this whole kind of undercurrent to this whole thing about, you know, these characters that these immortal characters that have to behead each other in order to kind of gain more power. I like the whole concept of Highlander. That's why I watched it. But I think the original movie doesn't... I don't think it holds up. I don't think it holds up as well as some people think it does. I mean, I'm saying that just as from a very fresh perspective. When I first saw it, it was just... okay. I mean, I liked it, but it just didn't seem like a very well-made movie, you know? I'm not sure if it was, you know, the acting or just the directing or something. Just something about it didn't hold up as well as I thought it would, considering how much people talk about Highlander, how many sequels there are to Highlander. I was like, I guess I expected more, but I mean, I don't... It's not like I hyped it up in my mind or anything like that. It was like, oh, this wasn't as good as I thought. I don't do that. But I'm surprised that people love it so much. But again, I like the concept of it, and I think it could be a really cool movie that spawns another series of sequels. Because from what I understand, none of the sequels are good at all. So I guess it was just kind of a downward slope for this whole series. But yeah, I do think it has potential. It's what I thought of when I first saw the list. So that is Highlander. Number 3, Warcraft. This is the newest movie on the list. Just recently came out, and I just recently saw it. And no, I don't think that Warcraft deserves a remake. Although, I mean, I guess that's really far-fetched. But I guess down the line at some point, maybe Warcraft will get another movie. You know, a reboot or whatever. And it could be done better. But I think more realistically is getting a sequel. If I were a betting man, I would say this movie won't get a sequel. But I would like to see one. I think it does deserve it. The Warcraft movie, the plot basically covers the first Warcraft game ish. There are some things changed, there are some things left out, and it doesn't end. Like the Warcraft movie, the first Warcraft game, Warcraft Orcs and Humans, or Humans and Orcs or whatever, like at the end of that storyline, the Orcs win, right? The Orcs beat the humans back. They take over the kingdom of Azeroth, and the humans have to just go up north to Lordaeron, right? That doesn't happen in the movie. At the end of the movie, the king dies, yeah. But they're just like, you know, we will fight! And then the movie's over, and you're like, well, that's nice. Like, no matter what, no matter how they ended the Warcraft movie, it would not be enough. There's so much more story to go. You know, they need sequels. But the way they left it off was like, wow, we really need a sequel. And And I think that the plot that they chose, well, I mean, it makes sense. You know, it absolutely makes sense as like a foundation for just, you know, we're humans. We do human stuff. We live in this nice world. We have peace. Oh, shit, orcs. And the orcs come in and are like, oh, puny humans. And the war begins. I mean, that's somewhat of a simplification, but that's basically how it goes. It's the meeting of the orcs and humans and how this war begins and goes throughout the ages. It lays the foundation. But it's not particularly interesting-ish or original. It's just kind of like, well, yeah, I mean, I guess it's for me because I know the whole story, more or less. I know how this ends. I know how it works out. But, you know, there's so much more to the Warcraft story, you know, and I think what a lot of people want to see is Arthas and the Lich King, and, you know, bringing in all those characters and more stuff from World of Warcraft. I think a lot of people that like World of Warcraft don't really know anything else about Warcraft. You know, people play World of Warcraft and you're like, what's Warcraft 2? Is there a World of Warcraft 2? What are you talking about? Like, it's just whatever. So, you know, there's a lot more to the story and more to the lore and to the universe. And I feel like Warcraft deserves to cover more of that more interesting stuff. You know, Warcraft movie, it was okay. I think that plot in itself could have done better. You know, there were problems with just that movie. But, you know, it's a rare instance of a movie that, yeah, I don't particularly like that much, but I want a sequel. You know, I want to see more. So it's a weird case, but I think it does deserve it. A franchise of that magnitude. So that's number 3, Warcraft. Number 2, Dread. I've talked about Dread plenty of times. I don't really need you know about Dread. You know what Dread is. It's a great movie, one of my favorites. Fantastic action movie. I could watch it over and over. So, yeah, it really is a no-brainer that this needed to be included on my list. I just think it's a travesty, right? It's a travesty that it's such a struggle to get Dread 2. Like, we're on Fast 8. Fast and Furious 8 is coming out, and we can't get Dread 2. I mean, I like the Fast and Furious series, don't get me wrong, but damn. There's all this shit, just shit everywhere. Shit is just flying in all around the place. At the theater every week, there's just bombarded with shit, and we can't get Dread 2, one of the best action movies of the last decade. Come on. Now, recently, it was confirmed that Dread 2 was in development, but then, like, just today, Carl Urban's like, no, I don't know what you guys are talking about. It's, you know, there's no Dread 2 in development, and it's just like, Someday we may see a Dread 2 or a Dread series on Netflix or Amazon or, you know, something like that. Somebody, please, do something. It needed to be said. All right, and number 1, again, the list was in really no particular order, but number 1 is Dog Soldiers. Dog Soldiers is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I've seen it. It's possible I've seen Dog Soldiers more than any other movie in my life. It's possible. Goonies might be up there. Pitch Black, maybe. But I don't know. I don't keep count. It's one of those 3, possibly Dog Soldiers. Dog Soldiers is a British horror movie about a group of military men that are sent on a training exercise in the Scottish Highlands that turns out to be not a training exercise at all. And werewolves. Werewolves are involved. They kill werewolves. Werewolves kill them. It's funny. It's awesome. So, around when Dog Soldiers came out, shortly after that, there was talk of a sequel called Dog Soldiers Fresh Meat, I believe it was called. And I clung to that so hard. I was like, oh, Dog Soldiers 2 Fresh Meat. It's coming out. It's coming out in a couple of years. We're going to have a big viewing. I told that, like, every few weeks, I told all my friends, like, hey, we're going to have a big viewing party when Dog Soldiers 2 Fresh Meat comes out. Because that was how we first saw Dog Soldiers. We just rented it on a whim during a party, and we all watched Dog Soldiers. So it was like, hey, we're going to do the same thing when Dog Soldiers 2 Fresh Meat comes out. There's no Dog Soldiers 2 Fresh Meat. And there likely never will be. I would much prefer to see a sequel to a remake. Dog Soldiers was directed by Neil Marshall, who has done a number of other things, but nothing of his quite compares to the level that Dog Soldiers does. Because Dog Soldiers perfectly combines a sense of humor with a sense of action with a sense of horror. You know, it's just all three good to go. And so I think if a remake went down the tubes, Neil Marshall probably wouldn't be in charge. And you would have different writers. And so they would attempt to emulate the sense of humor and all that. But you wouldn't. It couldn't. Maybe it could, but I doubt it. So a sequel would be good. Because then you could get Neil Marshall involved. You could get the writers involved. You could get... oh, man, what is his name? I'm gonna be upset with myself. Kevin McKidd. Sorry. You could get Kevin McKidd involved because, spoiler, he's the only one alive at the end of the movie. Now, Kevin McKidd is really not even the best part of Dog Soldiers at all. But I think, you know, if they could capture some of the same magic of Dog Soldiers with a semi-new cast of characters and go kind of the same route, just give me more. Just give me more Dog Soldiers. I can die happy. It'll never happen, but I have to say something. I have to say something about it. Maybe somewhere out there somebody will listen. Be like, hey, we should make some more Dog Soldiers. But if it didn't happen 10 years ago, it's not going to happen now. All right, so that wraps up this list. Let me know what you think. What are your movies that deserve a sequel or remake? Or do you believe there is no such a thing? No movie ever needs a sequel or remake. You probably don't think that. Nah. I mean, surely you think some movie deserves a sequel. Remake is a little trickier because remake it's rarely a movie that you like. It's tricky because it can't be. If you really like a movie, you don't think it needs to be remade because it's good. That's why that's why I thought of Highlander, because this movie is like, oh, that's a good concept, but could be better. But anyways, next time we'll be covering my top 10 games that deserve a sequel or remake. That could be also pretty interesting because that, it's a different medium, different thoughts. But anyways, my name is Mangg. This has been my top 10 movies that deserve a sequel or remake. And I'll see you fine folks around.